Good morning. This is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, your uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind.
Well, good morning and hello, kids and cubs, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 733 of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. Always 100% Canadian. Today, recording day is Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, and I'm looking out the window and it looks like a little bit of a gray day here at the Beaver Lodge, and I'm hoping that you can hear me. Okay, yeah, it works. Thank you so much. Still on day 3 of mic problems here at the Beaver Lodge. Something in my computer has definitely hijacked the microphone, and I've done everything. I've rebooted, I've unplugged and replugged. I've even deleted Zoom because it was the last thing on which I used my mic before it stopped working in case Zoom had hijacked my mic, and I rebooted after that, and still no mic. So hopefully I'll be able to have Mr. Grizzly, quote unquote, take over my computer this afternoon to try and figure out what's going on. But for some reason, the mic has just decided no, and I can't figure out why. So we're MacGyvering it again today, kids and cubs. For the audio listeners, apologies for the different sound quality over the past few days. It sounds a little more coming out of the bottom of a tin can, unfortunately, rather than the sound that we've been known for, because we really try to work on our sound quality. So we thank you for your patience and indulgence while we try to figure out why the heck everything's gone haywire for no apparent reason whatsoever. You're at the Beaver Lodge. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and not with me as usual is the aforementioned Mr. Grizzly. A big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Peppermaster, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. And I was a little, my face looked a little confused when we started the show. It's because it was. There's a new feature on Restream apparently that does the countdown and then the opening credits, and then switches to the camera all automatically, so I don't have to do a thing, which is good because that means that if that's the case, then I no longer have to worry about sticking the entry. I only have to stick the dismount when I leave. But when it's the first time, I'm sitting there and I'm like moving to all the buttons, and I'm about to press the button to start the intro music, and it's like it starts on its own. It's like, what the hell is this? And then I'm thinking, okay, well, then I need to set it so that at least I can start to the camera. And as I was like pressing the camera button, it had switched automatically too. So I guess it's learned something and it does it all. It's called auto switch now. So yeah, it does the whole thing for me on its own, which is kind of sweet, except they didn't tell me it was coming. So I'm just looking at this morning going, wow, what fresh hell is this? How is your mental health today, kids? Because last week You know what? Considering the number of things that have been thrown my way over the past like 8 or 9 days, I am surprisingly well adjusted and calm and not losing uh, my ish. Although the kids and cubs who have seen me the last 2 mornings trying to actually get the show started have seen my hands in my face, have seen clenched teeth, have seen me look up at the sky and yell, why? Of course, without being able to hear me do it, however. But nevertheless, I persisted. So, because my DAMFAM time is very, very important to me, and of course, getting a show out to you is also very important to me. So, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how many buttons I need to press to get it done, I will keep on pressing those buttons and trying so I can get it done for you because this matters. All right. Ah, mental health. Me, like I said, pretty good. Had a great time on Monday evening with some friends. I went to the movies to go see The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, Academy Award winner, of course, for The Favorite. And then Andy Samberg is in that. And just the cast is very good. Allison Janney and Kate McKinnon, and they're brilliant in that one. She splits me up that one. Um, it's a modern take on an '80s film called The War of the Roses that had Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito in it. If you have not seen that one, please do. It's an amazing film. It's one of my favorite films of all times. So I wanted to go see this one, of course, just because of the subject matter. Plus, I love, when you have Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, you're going to get some pretty great acting. Um, I wanted to see well what would happen with it. It's not as dark as the one with Kathleen Turner and Michael Douglas. That one was what really was a, a dark comedy. This one is darkish, but there's a bit more silliness to it, a whole lot more characters as well, and it's a whole lot less claustrophobic than the first one. The first one, most of the scenes were within the house, and this one has a lot more going on outside the house. But still, because the two main characters are British, there's a type of repartee among the British that's a little more cutting and biting, and that will make you go, like, oh my God, I can't believe they're saying these things to each other. And the writing is absolutely fantastic. So, a couple of big, loud belly laughs in that one. Uh, a great time. Highly recommended if you want to yeah, have a laugh with some friends and maybe uh, if ever you have been in a relationship that did not necessarily end well, do not ask me how I know. You might have a couple of moments where it's like, oh, I wish I would have said that, or yeah, I thought of doing that, but then I thought better. Because I like to not be in jail, perhaps. So I really recommend it. If you're not doing anything over the course of the weekend or looking for something to do, I recommend a night out at the movies to go see The Roses. I had a great time. All right, let's take a little look through the magic monitor. And who do we have with us today? Oh my God, the gang's all here. We have Kit Lane saying, good morning, everyone. And yes, we're 22,300 subscribers. It's been growing really quickly. So I have to assume that Mr. Grizzly quietly did another advertising push. And I'm just not aware of it because we normally don't grow that fast without an advertising push. That's a lot of new subscribers in just a few short days. Of course, there's a short clip that we have going on when Mr. Grizzly came in to do a show with us, I think early last week, when we were talking about Mike Pence. We cut it and put it as a standalone, and that one is um, having a lot of success as a short, so that may have drawn a lot of people in to our show uh, as well. Some subscribers through there. So I can't tell if there's an advertising push or it's just because that one clip is really doing well. It's on fire. We normally don't get that much pickup on short clips, so that could be doing it too. It could be acting the same as an advertisement for the show because it's a shorter version. Our shows are long format, and this was like a 10-minute clip or something, so it gives people the taste of what the life is at the Beaver Lodge, and maybe they liked it and want some more. More, they cried, more. Who else do we have? We have Kit Tabby G here saying good morning. Kit Grace saying good morning, everyone. We have Kit PNC Bio here talking already, getting into the politics of it first thing in the morning. I like that. Just diving right in. We have Kit Linda M saying good morning. Kit Uncover the News with the Beaver Dad joke. Why did Beaver bring logs to Grizzly's cave? Because he heard Grizzly wanted some lumbar support. I like that one. It made me snortle a little bit. I like it. Okay. We have Kit Nona Carol with us saying good morning. And good morning to you, Nona. We have Kit Argosi Acres here at the lodge. We have Kit Sharon with us saying good morning, DAMFAM. Kit Sharon, again, the person I would like covering my left flank if I was going to get into a back alley battle. I want her holding the baseball bat. We have Kid Swanky Frankie with us, and that is always a good thing. Let's see. Oh, the chat just skipped ahead. So let's see. Let's go back and let's see what else do we have with us. We have Kit Jillian saying good morning. Good morning to you. And we have the Brains here. Hey, good morning. And Jetty's back again this morning. Good morning. Hi, nice to see you again. Thank you for coming back. We have Miss with us saying morning, lovelies, and morning to you and the entire family. Hope everyone is doing well. Hope Mateo's feeling a little better. Hope he gave him some hugs too from his friend, Mr. Beaver. I like that little guy. We have Kid Bucky. Hi, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us this morning, Kit Uncover, of course, bringing the news and, of course, helping us with some clips over the past while. Thank you. Very grateful for that. Every little bit helps. So thank you, Kit Uncover. The initiatives that you take really warm our hearts. We have, who else do we have? We have Kid Gen X, which is a new one for me, saying morning all. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge. Pull up a log, stay a while, make yourself comfy. And I think that's everyone this morning. If I have missed you, I am so sorry. I was speeding through them very quickly to make sure I could indeed see them. All right. Let's get into it. It's a bit of a grab bag today, kids and cubs, to be totally honest. Not one particular overriding theme today, so we'll be jumping around, puddle jumping, political puddle jumping. I could have called the show that too. But the main thing sort of going on at the moment is that the Prime Minister and as we mentioned earlier this week, the Prime Minister and his cabinet had a 2-day retreat. I think it was last week when that guy from Project 2025 was supposed to come, but then all of a sudden just became unavailable. Who knows why? And today is the start of an actual caucus retreat. So it'll be the entire Liberal caucus getting together for that. If I remember correctly, based on what I was reading yesterday, it would be a 3-day caucus retreat in Edmonton. So again, more sucking up to Alberta for all intents and purposes here, noticing that the Liberals since Mark Carney has come along, have done a lot of things either out of Edmonton, or located stuff in Alberta. There seems to clearly be a focus on trying to do as much for or try to originate so many things in the West to try and stem uh, the persistent anti-liberalism that is out there. So I'm guessing there might be an unspoken strategy that if we keep on reaching out to the West, keep on having our activities in the West, that type of stuff, maybe eventually people in the West, from seeing us keeping on coming there, might start to not give as much credence to politicians from the West uh, who basically bake their entire careers on backbiting Ottawa or fighting Ottawa or claiming that Ottawa is somehow evil or trying to destroy the West or ignore the West or anything like that. So that might be an unwritten strategy, not unwritten, sorry, an unspoken strategy at place there. Again, in place, playing the long game for when the next election comes. So, well, they keep on saying that they're anti-Alberta or anti-West, but they sure have been here a lot. We've seen a lot of them. Maybe that's not true. Could be there. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. There's no harm, no foul. But if you're over here, you keep on seeing the conservative politicians out west keep on whining about how Ottawa is so terrible and unfair, and you keep on seeing Ottawa making overtures, making overtures, making overtures. If that happens many times, if you take the principle of social marketing that people have to be exposed to a message 7 to 11 times before they start to get it, well then you need to be reaching out and doing those things that are West centric a little bit, at least 7 to 11 times, perhaps more, and then having people, and you have to be seen doing it. So these high profile things, right? The First Minister's meeting in Regina, and now the caucus retreat out of Edmonton, the G7 thing out of Kananaskis, the major projects office in Calgary, a CEO from Trans Mountain, from the oil and right, you're getting the picture here, right? There's clearly an effort de séduction, a grand seduction type effort here that is happening, trying to show Western Canadians that regardless of what their provincial governments are saying, that the federal government is there, is present, and does indeed care. So that will be going on. And well, it seems that during the time that the Prime Minister will be there, Danielle Smith, who was conveniently out of the country when the revised book ban that will probably cause her some trouble down the road was put in place. How convenient for her to have been out of town when that happened. Is in town for the Prime Minister being there. And it seems that she too has a fondness for late summer reruns because it seems that she is going to meet with him like she did last time he was in Alberta. And she had demands. And they had a meeting, right? Because the Prime Minister keeps on, and they need to have one meetings with her because she's special, and deserves more attention than every other premier, of course. And she's going to go there with her list of demands, which are the exact same list of demands she had when she went to the last meeting. So nothing for her has changed. I'm going there and I got demands. And I'm like sitting there and I'm thinking, ah, again, shut up. It's like, when do we get to start making demands of you? Number one. And number two, again, you need to talk less. We know what your demands are. They're the same demands as they were every single other time that you've made demands over the past God knows how many years. There are 9 government policies that you believe are crushing Alberta's economy because Alberta's economy couldn't be in the tank because of anything you've done, like shutting the entire renewable sector, for example, like creating political instability and a climate of uncertainty for foreign investment by, well, being in the bag with separatists, by not having a major project to propose to Ottawa other than a pipeline. Right? I mean, right? There's nothing new from your part, and your thinking is extremely limited and you are extremely unimaginative and uncreative. Like, when somebody puts a call out for major projects, you say, "Well, there's just one. We just want this one, and that's it." It's like, why aren't you like suggesting six, seven, eight of them? Surely there must be more than just oil that can help Alberta and gas. Surely there's a tech industry in Alberta. Surely there's a green industry in Alberta. There's agriculture in Alberta. You could have asked for major national projects of a whole bunch of different kinds, but it's just oil. It's just gas. That's it. There's nothing else going on. And if it's not that, then you're not interested. It's 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 unhelpful, right? And we all know what the result of this meeting is going to be, right? She is going to emerge from this meeting unsatisfied. She's going there with a list of 9 demands that nobody has met yet. Nobody is going to meet in the way that she said. Now, of course, it seems now that she's saying that they don't necessarily all have to be cut, but they have to be, if not cut, severely modified or altered, which for Danielle Smith constitutes movement. Okay, fine, they can still exist, but they have to be dramatically rewritten to basically, unfanged for all intents and purposes. But that is supposed to be considered movement. So she's going to come out of this unsatisfied. She might have 1 or 2 words like she had before, like, when she was at that meeting, says, "Well, I'm feeling positive, I'm feeling hopeful, but we'll see." And then adding 1 or 2 things. There's the poison. We remember that always comes from you. There it is. Right. We had the meeting at the Stampede, where they joked a little bit, right? Like this, that little thing. But and then they were talking about stuff, and the pancake flipping, and of course other things related to not in that particular moment, but that you can tell that there was a little bit of an undercurrent, even though the prime minister is doing his best to try to make nice and accommodate her and show her that he's got to open ears to what it is that she's saying. But he has a plan, right? And she still needs to find a proponent. That's the yeah, that's the thing. And meanwhile, she's still going to the United States, trying to like strike more deals that will send our oil through the United States. When isn't the objective here to try to diversify our markets? You have Pierre at one side saying the Liberals have made us more dependent on the United States than ever. Oh my God, it's so trouble. This is like it's been Canadian policy for decades upon decades to just pull it out of the ground, put it in a pipeline, or put it in a truck or a train and send it down south, put our hands behind our head and put it on the desk and pat ourselves on the back for what economic geniuses we are for doing like the easiest thing possible, pulling it out to the ground and sending it to another country, the one that's closest, geographically closest to us. Not talking to any other countries, not trying to diversify with any other countries, not trying to build the ports so we can send the oil to all the other countries. Let's send it to the United States. They'll always buy it. They need it. They'll be our friends forever. They'll be our forever customer. Then all of a sudden, on oil and gas, they decided to get into it, and all of a sudden, our biggest client became our biggest competitor. And now we're on oil, and the United States is doing what it's doing to us now, and while we're selling them oil at a discount, and we're thinking, hey, maybe we should sell our oil and gas to other places, and now we have tankers of gas going to Asia from Kitimat, and people are trying to think, Germany and Europe are making a case that yes, there is a case for LNG, and other people are trying to make a case that there might be a case for our oil in other countries. Of course, during that entire 30, 40, 50 years, nobody thought of building the necessary upgraders next to any of the refineries we had out east. Right. These are things that we have done to ourselves, but these aren't things that we have done to ourselves just in the 10 years of Trudeau. Success of liberal and conservative governments, federal and provincial, all over the place, and maybe even one NDP government, if we're talking about that 4 years in Alberta. Nobody made the push for upgraders on our refineries out east. Nobody made pushes for more refineries. Nobody made for all Harper's talk about having pipelines to Tidewater and pipelines going east, um, he didn't want to follow the law in the process of doing it. So there's no surprise they didn't get done. He didn't. He wanted to do it, but he didn't want to do it legally. Well, then you didn't want to get it done. I mean, there's only other one. If you try for 10 years to get something done, and everybody's saying if you want to do that, you need to do it this way, and you say no, I want to do it this way instead, and refuse to do it the way that everybody that has a knowledge of law and the Constitution says that you need to do it if you want to get it done. Then the only conclusion is that you didn't want to get it done because you need the issue more than you need the solution, right? So she is going to go into that room. She's going to make her 9 demands, the same 9 demands that she always makes all the time. She's going to emerge unsatisfied. And the only question is whether or not she's going to have some words, some, some tempering words in that venom and poison that she's going to inject to suggest that she has some confidence or still some hope that the Prime Minister will do right. And of course, a lot of people pick up on, like, even at first I was thinking, okay, might this be a little bit of a new Danielle? And then, a couple months later, but no new Danielle. Anytime that she says something hopeful, it almost is like it's a setup for her punch to come 3 weeks down the road. Well, I was hopeful that the Prime Minister was going to do these things, but it's been 2 months now, and well, nothing's happened yet. So I guess this hope was displaced. He's just like all the rest, and blah blah. You know where this narrative's going because you know what type of person she is. Because politically, she has absolutely no identity of her own unless she's backbiting Ottawa or being anti-Ottawa, or unless Ottawa's the problem, or she's deflecting the entire mismanagement of her province, which is her fault, onto Ottawa. Right? Education funding is absolutely terrible in that province. People are, access to healthcare is terrible in that province. A while ago, electricity rates had jumped 128%. That's her killing the renewable sector. That's her insisting on coal mining on the side of a mountain when everybody said no. That's her insisting on a pension plan, provincial pension plan, provincial police, though everybody said no. That's her funneling, fueling a separatism push. That's her, right? Um, Transgender, prove your sex, your gender bills for girls to play in sports. I'm wondering when the prove your gender uh, policy is going to come to prove that you're a woman so that you can teach. Uh, I'm exaggerating, but it's like you're wondering when it's going to come there. When are we returning to the days, Danielle Smith, where the little ladies are going to have to ask their fathers or their husbands whether or not they'll put their signature so they can have a loan or a credit card. It's like prove your gender to participate in sports, book bans, and then turning around and saying, there's a teacher strike coming. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just get 1,000 more teachers. We'll take them from the trades. Oh, okay, yes, there are some trades that you want some trades education in high school, absolutely, uh, but I don't think 1,000 teachers coming strictly from the trades is what you need, right? You probably need a couple of other things, teachers with math, science as well. And I'm not sure how you're going to attract all those teachers because when you don't want to pay them and you're forcing kids to sign forms that say, yes, I am a girl, and then creating a book ban policy that allows very angry and aggressive parents to come into classrooms to look at the book selections in classrooms to see if it meets their personal definition of what is dirty or unacceptable. And expect that none of these people will get very abusive or perhaps even physically violent in the process. But yes, that will attract teachers. Those 1,000 teachers you claim you're going to bring in to reduce class. I mean, it's just not serious, right? So all this stuff is the Alberta Next panel is a joke and a disaster, right? So she's got all of this going on and it's making her province a completely terrible place to live. Even on immigration, right? She's whining about that when there's a whole bunch of videos of her saying, we want to double the population of Alberta to 10 million. There's video of her all over the place, demanding that the federal government increase the number of people that are coming to Alberta. And then all of a sudden, on a dime, she stops and goes, "Oh my God, our healthcare problems." And we're all like, "That's all immigration. That's the federal government. Federal government's fault. But you asked for it. You asked for it, and the federal government said yes. And now that you got what you wanted, and it blew up for your face because you didn't prepare for it, as is the case for many premiers. Yes, we need all this cheap labor. We need these people. Bring them in. We need to double the. Yeah. Danielle Smith was selling the low cost of housing, was using the low cost of housing in Alberta as a selling point in her attempt to attract 5 extra million people to Alberta. And now she's like, "Oh my God, homes are not affordable. That's the fault of the federal government." No, it's yours. It's yours. But again, she's nothing if she's not perpetually the victim. So she's not going to be satisfied, and she's going to try to find a way to blame Ottawa yet again, like this. And if she expresses any optimism, it's merely a setup for her to punch down later on. Yes. But these are mostly problems of her own making. Meanwhile, you have Pierre Poilièvre bellying up to a mic again yesterday and demanding that the federal government institute his party's housing policy before the federal government even tries its own. The housing policy that was presented to us during the election and that we rejected. Pierre believes that his most helpful contribution at this particular point in time is to belly up to a microphone and say, "Hey, Prime Minister, even though you know more about economics than I do, even though you've had real jobs and I haven't, even though you are worldly and you are knowledgeable about things and money, and I presented an economic platform during the election that almost destroyed my party's reputation, not particularly well earned, for fiscal probity and sound planning, but that got me laughed out of town. Your plan that you ran on and that people voted for, don't put that in place. Act like I'm prime minister and put my plan in place instead before you even gave yours a try. Just do that. That's the thing that you need to do to fix housing." Also, unhelpful. Number one, like that's going to happen. Right? This is not a serious proposal from a serious person. Nobody's going to just, "Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. I woke up this morning and I saw the light, and oh my God, your plan is so much better than mine, even though I ran on it and put all my political capital behind it. Yeah, I'm just going to ditch it and take yours because you're right. You haven't been right about much throughout your entire career, but you're right about this, and you know what? I'm going to take your plan and just trash mine." That's not gonna happen. Why even belly up to a mic and say that? You're just wasting everybody's time and bandwidth and airwaves and money and all of it. But according to the Canadian press, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says he wants Prime Minister Mark Carney to adopt his plan to deal with the country's housing crisis. Poilievre said the Liberals should eliminate the federal sales tax on all homes worth $1.3 million or less and incentivize municipalities to speed up permits and cut development charges. I believe, if I remember correctly, that the Liberal policy is cut the federal sales tax on homes. I know the policy started at 1 million. I don't know if it has been increased. I have a sense it had been increased up from that, maybe to 1.5 million, but don't quote me on that one. But I know that the original one in the campaign was 1 million, but it was only on the first purchase of a home. Now, somebody has made the point that when you're looking at a market like Toronto, given that the entry level prices are so high, first-time home buyers might only represent 5% of the total sales market. So how far can that GST cut go in terms of spurring new housing in that sense? But that's housing to buy And right now we have a little bit more of a focus nationally on purpose-built rentals, right? Not condos that could be snatched up, right? And that same thing too, if we have 1.3 million or less on all homes, whether it's your first home or second home or third home, that's cutting the GST on the people that are buying all these condos so that they can make Airbnbs out of them or use them as rental properties, right? That's not what we want. We want purpose-built rental for people who can't get into the home market, or people who are never going to buy a home. This can also have a place to live, and there's been a dearth of purpose-built rental while everybody's been building these small sort of postage stamp condos, right? Condos that are as I think was it Adam Vaughn? I think it was who was in Toronto, said that are perfect, the perfect size uh, to make a baby, but far from the perfect size to raise a baby. So, right, this is not, and the increase in purpose-built rental over the past, permits over the past year or two have been going sky high because the building for buying hasn't been as attractive over the past little bit. So the conservative policy, if it's every first-time home buyer, while that would make the market, let's say in Toronto, bigger than 5%, it also makes it such that single buyers of multiple units uh, get these bonuses for buying multiple units, which is what we're trying to get around. So this policy position from the Conservatives is literally going counter to what it is that we are trying to achieve. We're not trying to build more homes so that more people can buy homes as businesses to then rent out or use as Airbnbs. We're trying to build more homes so that people can actually live in them. He also says the government needs to get immigration, quote, under control, arguing that the large influx of newcomers over the past decade has caused housing shortage. And you will notice this, that Pierre Poilièvre, any time that he can try to insert immigration into any other policy thing, he is doing that. He really does want to drive a wedge between Canadians and immigrants and make immigrants the bad guys. And it's like, oh my God, what a long way we are from the early days of the Harper government and Jason Kenney, when Jason Kenney was tasked to go into Canada's immigrant communities and try to forge bonds and ties with the Conservative Party. Now the policy of the Conservative Party, who needs to keep on winning in the 905, is to make people with any pigmentation the villain for absolutely anything, whether it's housing, whether it's healthcare, whether it's youth unemployment. There's always an immigration angle that is put to there. So tons of super racist dog whistling coming on from the Conservative Party of Canada on all of these policy files. And we do know that immigration is under control. The caps have been put on specifically with regard to students, right? So Pierre's argument that the students have been taking, that the temporary foreign students have been taking away the jobs of young Canadians, particularly Canadians 15 to 19, is not particularly true over the course of this last summer, because the immigration caps were already under control in place for those workers. And right now, currently, we are at neutral growth in terms of the number of people coming in. So there isn't an increase in immigration at the moment. So if he's talking about under control, given the current levels, he is talking about, and he has mentioned it outright, basically decreasing the population of the country. At a time, we're going to enter a major capital building project. We're going to need people to build those homes. We're going to need people to build those pipelines. We're going to need people to build the high-speed rail. We're going to need people to build the electrical the electrical branches to make sure that other regions of the country, for example, up north, there's a region that's being completely is running completely on diesel, and we're going to try to, if the project gets approved, try to connect them to the electrical grid. Right? We need people for that, and yes, those are some good jobs for Canadians who don't have any, but not everybody is looking for those jobs. But those who want those jobs will definitely be able to find them. But I think there's going to be a little more work than we have people. So this is not the time to be seeking negative immigration, as we're looking to have people here who will be able to help us with these expansions, because there are not enough of us. So all of these things are completely unhelpful, and to keep on trying to rip at the fabric of the national consensus on immigration. And again, it is working for him. This is the dangerous part. It is working for him. These are unhelpful moves if one is playing the long game. They're great for getting through the nanosecond and like to get some news, and maybe even swing the polls a point or two here or there. But if one is looking at the long-term health and good of the nation, this type of rhetoric is unhelpful in every single possible way. The conservative leader says the housing bubble is bursting and home building is expected to slow in the next 2 years. A new report from the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says Toronto is on its pace for the lowest annual housing starts in 30 years, and there's been a slowdown in construction in Vancouver. But the agency also says construction came close to a record pace in the first half of this year in Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Ottawa, and Halifax. So the housing policy is working. There's a couple of cities that is not working in, and we all know that a good portion of housing policy is provincial and especially local. And Pierre's approach has been to make enemies of local councils, calling them gatekeepers and whatnot. And he keeps on saying that we need to incentivize these cities to make the right decisions, but his definition of incentivize is punish them by cutting funding if they don't meet housing targets, which is unhelpful, and incentivizing him game show style that if you surpass it, you'll get a housing bonus. But the housing bonus is not of an amount that is substantive or substantial enough to make to allow the cities to build even more in a way that would make an appreciable extra dent in the number of houses that we need to build. So yeah, not the most helpful approach in any way, shape, or form from Pierre or Danielle. Now, according to on this issue of housing from Global's Ari Rabinovich here, it says builders in Canada got started on roughly the same number of new homes in the first half of 2025 compared to a year prior, according to a new report, and it's not enough to put a dent in the country's lack of affordable housing. And that's the other part, too. There needs to be not only purpose-built rental, but purpose-built rent geared to income affordable housing, which is definitely someplace where the federal and provincial governments could be playing a very significant role. Also municipalities in this case, right? Co-ops, rent geared to income, all those types of other formats. We need many more of those as well. Although some markets are building homes faster than others, and there is a surge in construction specifically for low-cost rental units, see, as I mentioned, which is what we need at this particular moment, given, the fact that there's a lot of people who are looking for homes at the moment. Economists suggest the overall declines in some of Canada's largest cities are a cause for concern. In Ontario, and specifically Toronto, hello, Doug Ford, you got elected 2 times ago, I think it is, because we need to build the homes. But you didn't build the homes. And then you ran on Get It Done, and then you didn't get it done. The last time you ran on Protect Ontario, and we don't know from what or from whom, but you're not doing it. But in Ontario, and specifically Toronto, 2025 is on pace to see the lowest number of housing starts in 3 decades, according to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Of course, Pierre wants to make this, the fault of the federal government, but also provincial. We'll get to you on that. The ongoing construction slowdown in the homeownership market poses risks to future housing supply, workforce retention, and affordability, said Tanya Burasa Okoa, Deputy Chief Economist for the CMHC. Developers are frequently burdened by high development charges and time-consuming approval processes. Systemic changes to Canada's housing system are necessary to create an environment with more cost and time certainty to increase supply. The CMHC released its autumn housing supply report Tuesday, which includes confirmed housing starts in the first 6 months of 2025 for Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Ottawa, and Halifax. While on average, the number of homes that began construction across all markets was only slightly higher than the same period in 2024, larger spikes in housing starts at the start of the year were seen in Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, and Halifax. This year, the Greater Toronto Area is on pace to see its lowest annual housing starts in 30 years. In July alone, the CMHC says housing starts dropped 25% compared to the same month in 2024. Quote, I think what it really illustrates is the contrast we have across Canada for different housing situations. We've got significant weakness, particularly in GTA, in terms of new home construction, whereas other parts of the country are still fairly robust, says Robert Hogue, Assistant Chief Economist at the Royal Bank of Canada. And so it's very difficult now to talk about one housing market in Canada where the situation can vary quite dramatically. A previous report by the Parliamentary Budget Office released in August found Canada is on track to build 2.5 million new homes by 2035, which would be roughly 700,000 shy of the 3.2 million needed over the next 10 years. Prime Minister Mark Carney has launched a series of measures aimed at accelerating home construction to meet these targets. One approach is removing some interprovincial trade barriers, which the CMHC has separately reported could boost housing starts. Although Carney's home building ambitions are optimistic, not all economists think these goals will be easily reached. Quote, I've never felt optimistic about meeting those very, very lofty targets. It's great to have very strong ambitions to build a lot more because we know on the housing supply, from a fundamentals perspective, we need a lot more housing to grow our stock, especially of affordable housing, says Hogue. Targets like doubling the number of housing starts or completions has never been that realistic when you talk to folks in the industry. There are some capacity issues, very real reasons why it's very difficult to scale up construction. One of those capacity issues would be bodies, people, human capital. Housing affordability has also been a challenge for Canadians, and economists say adding more supply to the market will help to lower rental prices and make owning a home more attainable. If the demand for homes outpaces the rate of construction, then affordability could become even more challenging if there are more buyers than available homes, as prices could spike and push many out of the market. Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilièvre on Tuesday called on Carney to adopt his party's plans to tackle housing affordability, including lowering some sales taxes, because cutting taxes is the solution to everything. Home builders may not be starting as many projects as needed because of costs, labor shortages, and other obstacles. Making it easier and more cost-effective for developers to get started could help to meet the federal government's targets. Quote, there's a lot of challenges that developers are facing when it comes to financing costs, construction costs, development charges, complex municipal processes in some regions, long delays for approvals in some municipalities as well, says Burasa Okoa. We are hearing from the industry, we're hearing from developers that the sentiment is definitely on the lower side. Now, when I mention that Pierre is blaming the federal government, he is, because that's what he always does. But on housing specifically, he is not only blaming the federal government, but he is also going after Doug Ford specifically, which in one sense, again, still unhelpful, but in another sense makes me happy, because Pierre needs to show people that he can learn and grow and become a different person. And clearly, one of the things that hampered him in the last federal election is the fact that he did not have a good relationship with Doug Ford, allegedly because Doug Ford is not enough of a conservative, or not a real conservative. He's not passing the purity test for conservatism. And therefore, you would think that if Pierre really did want to win, if he really does want to become prime minister, that he would, oh, I don't know, make nicey nicey with Doug Ford and also Tim Houston somewhere along the way, so that they might have warmer relations and they might want to put their political teams behind him when he runs. Well, it seems that Pierre has decided that he doesn't need that, hasn't learned, doesn't need it, because he, well, he's attacking Doug Ford a little bit as well while he is doing this, according to the Toronto Star. Well, according to the Toronto Star, sorry, according to Colin DeMello from Global News, he posted a Toronto Star article that says CBC later takes aim at Premier Doug Ford's housing starts. And the Toronto Star article is titled, oh, come on. Of course, it is being capricious this morning, as always. Why are you doing this to me? All right. Well, not being helpful again today. But yes, calling it, sorry, I cannot get the article to open. It is apparently behind paywall. But called the Toronto, the article's titled "Toronto is on pace for its lowest annual housing starts in 30 years." CMHC says, and the article is behind paywall, and therefore I cannot access it and cannot bring you what it is that it says. Sadly enough, but yes, according to Colin DeMello, seems to be spreading his love around and taking swipes at Doug Ford yet again, which proves that he has learned nothing and definitely does not want to get the Ontario Premier on board to help him win the next election. So yeah, we have Danielle Smith and Pierre Poilièvre essentially being as unhelpful as humanly possible as this retreat gets set to take place. Moving on, get some guts, because there is a lot of stuff happening, and well, I'm just gonna, like I said, it's going to be a little bit all over the place for the second half of the show, but these are just little tidbits of things and interesting things that I've picked up along the way that I wanted to share with you. Yesterday, we mentioned the election in Norway a little bit, and I mentioned to you how it very much resembled the situation in Canada. That there was a specific graph that I noticed that really depicted it, and I was able to find it yesterday, and I'm going to show it to you today so that you can take a look and actually see here how what happened in Canada uh, uh, is happening in other places, at least occasionally. So this is it right here, kids and cubs. Just going to make sure it's up there. There you go. And you will see here that this red line here is the more liberal party in Norway, and the blue line is the more conservative one. And you will see here that somewhere between 2024 and 2025, there was this massive gap here. So we had, like, I think nearly 56% support for the conservatives, and maybe about 41% support. So there's about a 17-point gap right about here. And then how right about here, just like maybe a month after that gap between the two parties got the widest, whoops, support for the more liberal option just skyrockets, and then support for the conservative option just plummets. And this here says the right wing in Norway have thrown what looked like, sorry, the right wing in Norway have thrown what looked not just like a certain win, but for a moment a massively large one at that. Absolute staggering incompetence. And somebody says, what happened? Stoltenberg and Listhaug. So that former NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg decided to join the governing party as a candidate. So a serious international leader with lots of experience, in this case, military and defense, given how close Norway is to Russia, came in and said, "Yes, I'll be part of this government." And everybody said, "Well, great. If the former Secretary General of NATO is going to be there, let's get this guy." Just like we did, right? If a former central banker that helped get us through the 2008 crisis and helped the UK not completely punch itself in the dick post-Brexit, because wants to lead the country during the time that we have economic turmoil come on, yeah, we'll get ourselves a slice of that, please. So similar dynamics in both countries. But just thought I'd want to show you that graph because it was like, damn, um, not only in Canada, it would seem. So it would seem, kids and cubs, that if political parties do present experienced and respected international figures that have worked on the global scene and have done their work well, uh, that surprise, surprise, in this world where we allegedly hate experts, people like people with experience. Who knew? All right, let's keep going through it. Another little bit of news that came yesterday. For those who enjoy the show The West Block on Global, normally hosted by Mercedes Stevenson, who is Global's Ottawa bureau chief. They're going to have a little bit of a surprise because, well, not so much of a surprise because if you're following the show, then you know that Mercedes Stevenson has taken some time for maternity leave. So, congratulations to the happy family and welcome to the new one. But that means somebody needs to take her job in the interim, and well, you'll never guess who they tapped. Ben Mulroney, who had just recently started his podcast, which I have a feeling he'll maintain anyway. But yes, Global has announced that Ben Mulroney will be taking over from Ottawa Bureau Chief Mercedes Stevenson as the interim host of the West Block, rather than the usual fill-in host, Chief Political Correspondent David Aiken, which of course made me immediately wonder, again, in what dimension, reality, galaxy, solar system, universe, planet, continent, country, postal code, or area code is Ben Mulroney a better option to host a weekly political show than the very experienced and respected David Aiken. But yeah, we've got Ben Mulroney instead. Global News and Chorus announces, this is from their little press thing. Global News is excited to announce the return of its political affairs program, The West Block, entering its 15th season beginning September 14th on Global and streaming live on Stack TV with brand new interim host Ben Mulroney. The award-winning news network's political program features timely conversations with must-see guests touching on the political and economic issues that matter most to Canadians. Veteran Canadian broadcaster. Okay. Well, I mean, if you count his e-talk years, I guess he's a veteran Canadian broadcaster. I'll allow it. Ish. Veteran Canadian broadcaster Ben Mulroney will take the hosting seat while Ottawa Bureau Chief Mercedes Stevenson is away on parental leave this season, bringing his distinguished television experience, oh boy, law background and political expertise, to each episode. I'm not sure what political expertise he has, other than having been the son of a former prime minister. But I mean, based on what he's been offering on his podcast show, expertise might be stretching that definition of the word in this particular application. Quote, West Block sets the tone, pace, and conversation for the week ahead around politics, said Ben Mulroney. I feel privileged to be part of the team bringing Canadians the number one political show in the country. Viewers can expect information-packed episodes on the latest in Canadian politics every Sunday, starting September 14th at noon, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and 10 a.m. Mountain Time, with encore broadcasts Sunday nights on Global and Stack TV. So we'll see whether or not the format of the West Block, given that it's supposed to be more general public, will be less strident and sharp than his podcast, which seems to be directed to go fishing in one particular angry, aggressive market. So we'll see if he's able to temper that, because this show is supposed to be for everyone. So, but we'll see. Yes, indeed. Ben Mulroney of the West Block. Not the choice I would have made. Like, at all. At all. Since yesterday we were talking a little bit about Newfoundland and Labrador, and some election pre-positioning that might be happening in this case, with the Prime Minister being on the Rock to meet with Premier John Hogan. This is a little bit of just a couple of seconds of a video here about, with no sound, them meeting, and again, this type of thing that you see will, loop around, and again, just a little bit of promotions. They're seeing them sitting at the table and greeting each other warmly and working together and all that good stuff. That creates some good images there for people who want to get a little extra profile before an election is officially called. So that is going on. But it seems that there's a little more in the clip that we showed. We talked about the $80 million being directed from the regional tariff response fund, and lots of talk about where they were at the time, and adding the Indigenous partnership element to it, which was very featured in that particular instance. So that was a good thing. But then there's some real things going on with regard to negotiations and particular projects under the One Canada Act, Bill C5, and everything, the Major Projects Office. And according to Benjamin Bergen and Karen Moores, Benjamin Bergen being the president and Karen Moores being the senior Atlantic advisor for the Council of Canadian Innovators, which is a national association of Canadian headquartered high-growth companies. They had this to say about some of these projects. It says here, "It took more than half a century, but Newfoundland and Labrador finally has a second chance to turn resource wealth into lasting prosperity. The Churchill Falls Agreement, renegotiated last December between Hydro-Québec and Newfoundland and Labrador, promises an estimated $225 billion in revenue over the life of the deal. It marks the close of one of the country's most lopsided contracts and the beginning of something potentially far more consequential, the opportunity to build a durable economic future, this time on its own terms. Over the past 2 decades, Newfoundland and Labrador has quietly built a resilient innovation economy in offshore energy, ocean tech, cybersecurity, and defense. These aren't fledgling startups. They are Canadian-owned scale-ups, exporting technologies and building intellectual property here at home. The technical know-how exists. The global market appetite exists. Now, so does the capital, if the next government is disciplined enough to use it wisely. History is a harsh teacher. Resource windfalls in this province have driven high employment and infrastructure growth before. But without an industrial strategy to anchor those gains, the benefits faded quickly. When the boom passed, so did the prosperity. This election is different, only if we make it so. This time, windfall wealth must be put to work. A sovereign growth fund, properly structured and transparently governed, can turn short-term revenue into long-term resilience. Not to pick favorite firms, but to build enduring capacity in clean tech, ocean innovation, and dual-use technologies. And not through equity infusions, but through non-dilutive tools, low-interest innovation loans, commercialization grants, and export market supports that let Canadian companies grow without giving away their future. And it matters who receives that support. The evidence is clear. Economies grow stronger and more self-reliant when they're powered by homegrown scale-ups, not foreign branch plants. Local firms don't offshore their IP or profits. They hire local, reinvest locally, and build the kind of institutional memory that outlasts tax incentives. Newfoundland and Labrador doesn't need to chase cheap labor ploys to become competitive. It needs to invest in the firms that are already proving they can compete. Talent is now the rarest commodity in economic development. Newfoundland and Labrador is aging faster than most provinces and losing more young workers to outmigration than it gains. Fixing that starts with retention, not just attraction. The province rebuilt its workforce after the cod moratorium. It trained world-class talent for the offshore sector. It can do it again. The next premier should design bold, practical policies, reskilling programs aligned with real labor demand, sector-specific immigration streams that support high-growth firms, and family retention tools like spousal employment support. A policy mix like that doesn't just plug holes, but builds population confidence. Public procurement, the most overlooked lever in economic policy, public procurement is the most overlooked lever in economic policy. In a province about to pour billions into infrastructure, energy, and defense, every contract is a chance to build local capacity or to ship opportunity elsewhere. Smart governments from the Netherlands to South Korea have modernized procurement to ensure their domestic firms have a path into public markets. Newfoundland and Labrador should follow suit. Modular buying, coordinated procurement systems, and international policies that treat local scale-ups as serious contenders, not afterthoughts. This election should be a referendum on one question. Are we going to build a self-reinforcing prosperity cycle or let wealth slip through with no infrastructure to remember it by? The Churchill Falls renegotiation was a political victory, but one that came too late for past generations, but just in time for the next. What happens now depends entirely on political will, to invest boldly, to retain what we've built, and to make prosperity something more than a headline. If Newfoundland and Labrador seizes this moment, future generations will look back and say, this is when our province chose to thrive. So some good suggestions in there, and talking about creating their own sovereign wealth fund, similar to what Alberta has, similar to what Norway has, based on this opportunity, and to not treat scale-ups that have taken the time to establish them and have done all that hard work as afterthoughts or something to be acquired by foreign companies, but something to build up upon so that they can have bigger footprints even in their own nation, among others helpful suggestions in this opinion piece. And last little note on what's going on in Newfoundland and Labrador. There's been some premier net approval polling coming out from Angus Reid. They normally do this fairly regularly, come up, I think they do it monthly, if I'm not mistaken, following the approvals of the premiers. And if we are looking at the numbers released September 5th, Premier John Hogan is a very happy man, because I think a lot of people would like to go into an election with these numbers. Premier Wab Kinew has the highest net approval polling at plus 27%, but right behind him, John Hogan at plus 23%, then Susan Holt, plus 14%, Tim Houston, plus 9%, Scott Moe at plus 4%, and then at the bottom of the list, Danielle Smith, minus 3%, finally in negative territory. David Eby from British Columbia at minus 9%, a little surprising. Doug Ford at minus 14%, yet everybody still wants to vote for his party for some reason. And of course, François Legault, who's having an extremely rough go at it, and for a while, at minus 49%. But yeah, if you are about to have the writs drawn for a provincial election, that's going to be happening in maybe just a little over a month from now, and you're going in with a net approval rating of plus 23, you might be feeling pretty good at the moment. So all this extra video of the premier hanging around with the prime minister, who is particularly popular at the moment, and announcing money, coming with money for the province, certainly doesn't hurt. So little electioneering, a little pre-positioning, a little strategy. It's all part of the game. And currently, Premier Hogan and Prime Minister Carney are doing that very well, where this particular provincial election is concerned, or upcoming provincial election is concerned, because it hasn't been announced yet. All right. Keep going down the list that I have for here. The next one has to do with some of the anti-trans stuff that is going on in Alberta. It seems that there has been a resignation in protest as a result of this policy. A gentleman named Craig Coburn, who is a University of Lethbridge Faculty Association member representing the Department of Geography and Environment, wrote this statement of resignation the other day. Please see the following statement on behalf of ULFA member Craig Coburn, Geography and Environment, regarding his resignation as representative of the U of L, University of Lethbridge Board of Governors. The implementation of a policy to restrict the rights of our female athletes forced onto the University of Lethbridge by the government of Alberta is, in my opinion, unjust. So this is not just applying to high school kids, this is applying to universities as well. The Alberta Human Rights Act ensures that we all enjoy the same basic human rights. I'm not a lawyer, but the Alberta Human Rights Act states that without a specific declaration, no law may restrict human rights unless it expressly declares that it does. The Fairness and Safety in Sports Act is, in my opinion, discriminatory and would restrict the rights of female participants in sports. It also makes no declaration about it being enacted notwithstanding the Alberta Human Rights Act. The provincial government has required that all PSE institutions develop a policy based on the Fairness and Safety in Sport Act, and they provided specific guidance on the content. It is my opinion that the point of the policy is simple: to restrict the human rights of females. It specifically targets transgender females, but it impacts all females participating in competitive sport. As a cisgender male, my rights have never and will never be restricted. To frame this legislation as being about fairness or safety is not, in my opinion, the reason for the act, as there is no evidence that it is unfair or unsafe for transgender females to compete in sport. Aside from provincial legislation, the policy is also against our harassment and discrimination policy and our institutional values as expressed in the new strategic plan. Policies that acknowledge that harm to students is an outcome set a new low standard. As a representative for the past 4 years on the Board of Governors, I have worked hard to ensure that all members of the university community are treated with respect and fairness. On any board, you will lose more arguments than you will win, but there are limits. The Board of Governors is required to support the university, and I cannot continue to serve on the board as I cannot support this provincially mandated policy. I hope that faculty will stand with our students in the protection of their fundamental human rights and against a government that is acting outside the law. Fiat Lux. Craig Coburn. P.S. I think it makes sense to add that if faculty have concerns, they should contact the following people: Danielle Smith, Premier at gov.ab.ca; Andrew Boychenko, Minister of Tourism and Sport, ts.minister@gov.ab.ca; Rob Miyashiro, lethbridge.west@assembly.ab.ca; and Nathan Newdorf, lethbridge.east@assembly.ab.ca. Just handy little email addresses that you might want to write if you oppose this program. And then I have to, of course, go to look at what Fiat Lux means, because that's Latin when he ended it. And it basically says, let there be light. He signs it, let there be light. So, Mr. Coburn, you are a Canadian who makes us proud because you resigned on principle for a policy that is completely unacceptable. Charles Prepelic, who is an editor of the Gaslight Sherlock Holmes series, Professor Challenger, New Worlds, Lost Places, and Beyond Rue Morgue anthologies, had this to say about it. Highlighted the portion here where he says, it's my opinion that the point of policy is simple: to restrict the human rights of females. And he says, that's the crux of it right there. It's a slippery slope that eventually leads to the Maple MAGA Christian fascists stripping rights from all women in the end. It really wasn't that long ago that women couldn't have a bank account or credit card unless co-signed by a father or husband. The USA is reshaping into a billionaire white boys club with women and children being reduced to nothing more than property again. The UCP is not interested in protecting anyone regardless of sex or gender, whether child or adult. Smith's UCP is all about control. That's it. Freedom is not in the UCP playbook. It's the same playbook being used in Trump's USA. Now, students are not overjoyed with this bill and this policy whatsoever. CTV Edmonton had an article written by Angela Amato and Connor Hogg that indicated this. It says, back to school is looking different for girls playing sports this year as they are being given a provincially mandated form requiring them to confirm their sex at birth. Natalie Elzinga, a 14-year-old volleyball player, is calling the forms transphobic and unnecessary. She said she was pulled aside of her volleyball tryouts and told she would not be able to get on the court if she did not sign the form. Quote, when I was told I'm going to have to sign that form, I was in disbelief because why should I? Elzinga told CTV News Edmonton. This is just purely transphobic and there's no need for it. 14-year-old. A 14-year-old can see this. The form that was given to Elzinga at our St. Albert school follows the province's new Fairness and Safety in Sports Act, which requires girls and the parents of those under 18 to confirm they were born female in order to play female-only competitive sports. Quote, I'm not trans, I'm not queer in any way, shape, or form, but I know that this is terrifying for people who are. Elzinga's mom, Leah, had been to numerous volleyball games and tournaments over the last decade between her two daughters. Quote, it's my whole social life right now. I've talked to hundreds, if not thousands of parents. Never, not once has this issue come up, said Leah. Nobody is worried about this. Nobody is worried about their girls playing with trans girls and getting hurt in unfair play. St. Albert Public Schools said the forms are being distributed and collected by coaches when students try out for a team. Forms will be kept at school offices and not given to the province. Edmonton Public Schools said it will do the same while the city's Catholic schools use a digital form with access restricted to authorized administrators and office staff. Under the province's new rules, those wanting to participate in boys-only sports don't have to fill out the same forms that the girls do. Quote, they don't care about trans athletes in sports. Otherwise, they would care about all trans athletes in sports, said Leah. They care about girls specifically and limiting what they can do. Elzinga said the forms can be contested and is worried that the lack of guidelines will cause harm. Quote, there are no boundaries, and when there aren't boundaries, they can be abused, she said. The press secretary for the Minister of Tourism and Sports said it is the responsibility of sports organizations to verify requirements are met and to maintain personal information while following privacy legislation. So the province is just completely washing their hands of this. The ministry, in case something bad happens, like information gets out or leaked or something. The ministry said the act will make the sport safe, accessible, and fair for all Albertans, and that the province has no plan to implement similar legislation for boys at this time. Elzinga ultimately handed in the form, but not before crossing out the words fairness and safety. I know that there are so many people on the court in my class who are not able to talk, and I just want them to feel safe, feel protected like a child should, said Elzinga. And that, like I said, a 14-year-old girl can see that this is a policy that's not on. And Senator Dr. Christopher Wells saw this article and said, all girls should refuse to sign these deeply sexist and transphobic forms. Once school sports stop, the government will quickly reverse their discriminatory policy out of sheer embarrassment, just like they did with the book ban. Boys should also stop playing in solidarity. This is about more than sports. Human rights belong to everyone. Use your voice. You have the power to make change. And I'm sitting there like this. It's a shame that this policy was delivered in such a way, and with these forms coming out at such a time that had these forms been made available at the end about last summer, that people would know what it is that they were signing. There might have been time to organize a don't comply, do not obey in advance, do not fill in the form sort of campaign to get everybody to agree, or as many people as possible to agree to not sign these forms, which would then have an impact on school sport being able to take place, which would have generated a lot of public outrage, which would have generated pushback, which Danielle doesn't like, which would have forced them to climb down on this. But the UCP did this strategically, introducing the forms at the beginning of this academic year when it's there. Do you want to participate or not? Creating that pressure situation. And this 14-year-old girl, ultimately signed the form, even though she knows it's wrong, even though it's not okay, because she's a 14-year-old girl and she wants to play volleyball with her friends. But this generation of kids are very aware that this particular government and this particular movement is coming after their friends. That's not going to do, again, if political party is playing the long game, they're not trying to piss off 14-year-olds who could be future voters for them 4 years down the road by coming after their friends, the people they hang out with at least 5 days a week at school. It's completely short-sighted and completely discriminatory. So it's nice to see that there are some people who are standing up and that are saying, hey, this is not right. Okay. Um, let's see, where do we go next here? There's so many things going on. Oh, yeah. Since we're talking about Alberta and schools, a little bit more about the alleged, it's not a book ban. That totally was a book ban, but now maybe is a little bit less of one. The Minister of Education did something, Dimitrios Nikolaidis, very, very, very dangerous last week. He did this on September 2nd, and I saw it, but kept on forgetting to put it in my notes to bring it to you. But between the time that they announced this revised policy just the other day and the time that they had to step back last week, the Minister of Education did this. And if you haven't seen this, you need to be sitting down for this because and if you have any cups or something, you might want to take your hands away from them because this might cause you to throw something. The Minister of Education, and I'm going to show you this on screen so that you know it is real. I'm not making this up. Posted this to Twitter. Over the past few months, I have seen several comments from Albertans asking for proof that these books existed in Alberta schools. I initially did not share this list as I did not feel drawing attention to individual schools was necessary or helpful. However, I believe Albertans deserve transparency. Please see below a list of which schools had these books. And then he literally doxes those schools. Includes a supplemental list in the second tweet, and in the third tweet, photos taken in May showing the books on library shelves. Of course, that is. Let's assume they're telling the truth that these are on library shelves and that people didn't just put those things on the shelves and take pictures and say, hey, they're here, because he's got the list of those books. So basically, what this guy did was, if you go back to the first tweet in that series, is over the past few months, I have seen several comments from Albertans asking for proof that these books existed in Alberta schools. I did not initially share the list as I did not feel drawing attention to individual schools was necessary or helpful. And then the second one is, however, I believe Albertans deserve transparency. So here's the list for intents purpose. So however, I believe Albertans deserve transparency is a lie. Here, it's however, given now that we have been very embarrassed by the alleged vicious compliance by the Edmonton School Board, not talking about the Lacombe School Board, of course, that took all their books and then just put them in, on the front stoop with a picture saying, hey, if you guys want some books, come and take them because we don't have time to go through all of these. So we need to get rid of the books then. I won't talk about that. But that got international attention and got them laughed at all around the world. Now that that has happened, well, now here's the list. Minions, have at it. Here's all the schools that carry these books if you would like to protest these schools or make life miserable for people at these schools for having put them on the shelves in the first place. Here's the address. Do with it what you will, knowing very well that they're talking to a demo specifically on this issue that is very angry and aggressive. The Minister of Education literally published the list of schools that carried the books so that the minions could unleash themselves on those institutions and the people who work there. But they claim they're going to get 1,000 new teachers to come to Alberta. When this is what they do to them. This is a move that makes people very unsafe. This is a move that should have him handing in his resignation. This is a move that, were I a teacher, would have me consulting a lawyer to ask whether or not my employer is creating a dangerous work environment for me. Flippantly, gratuitously, just for shits and giggles. There was no reason for him to decide that after they were embarrassed. Well, here's this list that I didn't want to release because I didn't think it would be helpful, but now it is. Helpful for what purposes, Mr. Nicolaitis? Helpful in the sense to get your mob to keep those teachers in line? Yeah, not particularly impressed with this. That's something that you do not do. They're the employer. They're responsible for the safety. The new policy, the actual words of the policy, and this is thanks to reporter Rob Breckenridge, who published it. Standards for school library materials. The official wording of the policy is, effective January 5th, 2026, a school authority is required to implement the following standards respecting the selection, availability, and access of school literary materials. The school authority must ensure that school literary materials containing any explicit visual depiction of a sexual act are not accessible or available to children or students in a school, and must ensure that no such school literary materials are selected for inclusion in a school library unless such materials are for information or reference, such as technical materials, dictionaries, or encyclopedias that are not narrative in nature, which actually is a step up from Florida that are looking to ban dictionaries at the moment. Seriously. There's a group there looking for that. So that is the actual wording of the policy. And then we had Theomedakis, because he's wonderful, decided to comment on this visually, which is kind of interesting considering that visual depictions have been determined to be bad. So Theomedakis has a cartoon with Danielle Smith behind a podium holding up an Archie comic that has Archie, Betty, and Veronica all sipping from the same milkshake at the pop shop, saying, "We must protect children from this," with Archie having three little hearts over his head and his eyes crossed in sort of like gooey love, because I'm guessing that to Danielle Smith, this is a sexually explicit threesome. Because, they're all sucking on straws simultaneously. And they are rather in close proximity one to the other. That must have offended her tender sensibilities oh so much. I love me some Theo. And then finally on this issue, we have Mr. Andrew Friesen, who describes himself as father, husband, a data scientist, digital transformation, data over dogma. Says here, book ban 2.0 is here. Still a bit alarming. The books to be removed are reduced in scope so literary porn can stay, but it creates a red tape monster for teachers and enables the UCP's anti-education lobbyist friends to enact more rules. Let me explain. Bookmark this one. Smith's book registry is going to be used as part of a process that parents can use to nominate books for removal, like Florida. That's what the lobbyists want, and Miss Smith rarely lets down right-wing lobbyists. Battier, the better. My mother-in-law is a teacher with a grad degree in early childhood literacy, has her own collection of books to help kids. To save the red tape of UCP book registry entries, the books go home. Who has time to support ELL literacy interventions and Smith's red tape? Finally, big schools have at least library books cataloged already for small ones. She's creating a red tape nightmare for the sake of 4 out of 1.4 million books that were found. In Florida, some schools just closed their libraries instead of dealing with all the red tape. I'm sure the lobbyists wouldn't be disappointed with this outcome. Why can't we just get rid of books with porn? Because that's actually not the end game, in my opinion. Wow. That is, that's something. That's a statement. Indeed. And then we have our friends, of course, from the Breakdown, Alberta, Nate Pike, for whom we have a lot of respect and a lot of love here. Quoting Jackie Seidel, who's a PhD, University of Calgary Associate Professor, PhD, who says the UCP are accomplishing what they wanted. The original books they raised such a hoopla about are still banned. They are getting teachers to obey and make lists with all their extra time and hand them in. They are still hinting that there are pornographic books in Alberta schools. And that's what they want. That's what they want. They want people to believe that teachers are somehow corrupting students. It's just, ugh. Now, according to the NDP, and this is again for the Breakdown, says the NDP aren't having Danielle Smith's book ban 2.0, and they're calling out the distraction that it's partially designed to do. Underpaid teachers are exploding classroom sizes. And Laurie Sigurdsson from the NDP, the MLA from Edmonton Riverview, posted the NDP caucus's letter for immediate release September 8th. Amanda Chapman, Alberta's new Democrat Shadow Minister of Education, issued the following statement in response to the UCP government's revised book ban. Quote, the UCP government refuses to admit when they've made a mistake. Instead, they are doubling down on their book ban. These changes increase confusion for parents, schools, and teachers when the issue of age-appropriate books was already being dealt with. Nothing today addresses the additional burden placed on teachers and school staff to catalog books that contravene the UCP government's gaslighting ministerial order. Instead of ensuring everyone understands only age-appropriate books are in schools, now the government is pitting parents against schools just because someone doesn't like a book. Quote, what happens if parents disagree over whether a book is appropriate for their kids? It's just more chaos and confusion, and potentially violence. All of this ignores the bigger picture. Alberta students are funded at the lowest level in Canada. Classrooms are bursting at the seams, and teachers and families are facing immense uncertainty because of the government neglect of public education. The UCP government needs to prioritize Alberta schools, focus on averting a teacher strike, and properly fund our schools. So basically, the NDP is wondering, and then she said it, says, why all of this policy when the policy can just simply be school libraries must ensure that only age-appropriate books are in schools. Period. Make it simple. But that would deny Danny her fight. And she can't have that. So we get book ban 2.0. And the minister doxing the schools who were allegedly carrying those books. Yeah. Fantastic, isn't it? All right. A little bit of things that are not going well for Pierre Poilièvre at the moment. It's one of these things that we do frequently on the show, but the only reason for it that we do it frequently is because, well, the Conservative Party of Canada keeps frequently giving us such material with which we can do this. So once again, the Conservative Party of Canada shows Canadians a lack of meticulousness, thoroughness, and rigor with which they would rule over us had they been elected, thus proving once again we dodged a bullet. Journalist Glenn McGregor said here, Conservatives post a letter listing their priorities for the fall sitting of Parliament, and once again, better proofreading is not among them. And here, kids and cubs, I will put it up for you, and you will notice it says secure borders by hitting the brakes. What do you notice about the spelling of the word brakes? Yes, by hitting the brakes, BREAKS, on immigration and ending the wage-suppressing, job-killing temporary foreign worker program to put Canadian workers first. That's how we secure borders, by the way, in their document. We're going to secure the borders by hitting the brakes on immigration and ending the temporary foreign worker program. That's all we need to do to secure our borders, according to Pierre Poilièvre in that letter. And they can't even spell brakes correctly. What are you going to do with these people? Then there's this another little video clip, and I'm sorry, you're going to have to hear Skippy Peanut Bitter speak for about a minute and 19 seconds here. But this is Skippy Peanut Bitter speaking for a minute and 19 seconds, and revealing to the nation that he is a vapid and vacuous and just an empty bag with nothing of substance to offer. He's asked a question, and watch how he can't think on his feet of an actual answer to that question.
Mr. Poilièvre, are you concerned about any programs that the government would cut in the future?
So, simple question. Are you concerned about any programs the government would cut? I'm going to back it up a little bit. Listen to the length of the pause.
Cut in the future.
You know, the mess we're in today, the reason why we have the worst youth employment numbers in 3 decades, the worst housing and food price inflation, the reason that there are 2 million people lined up at food banks is that the government is too fat. It's very simple. The government is rich and the people are poor.
Okay, so see how the difficulty that he had to set himself up to a spot where he can find a well-worn line. The government is rich, but the people are poor, something that he's been saying for the last 2 years in the whole sort of, Justin is terrible thing. But the question wasn't about this, right? He actually doesn't have an answer. But let's go on.
We need to make the people rich by getting the government off their backs. Actually, I'd put it this way. Right now, the government has become a big fat man, and the private sector is a skinny man carrying that fat man up an increasingly steep hill. And that skinnier man is about to collapse under the weight of the gargantuan, carny, liberal government. It's time to put that government on a diet. And it's time to start worrying about the feeding and care of the hardworking people who are carrying the government on their back.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that press availability clearly did not end well. Again, let's go back to what the question was.
Mr. Poilièvre, are you concerned about any programs that the government would cut in the future?
I guess that would be no. He's not concerned about any programs that the government would cut. Now, again, Pierre George Costanza Poilièvre here talks about a skinny man and a fat man and the gargantuan Liberal government, when this is the guy that had a shadow cabinet of 80 something last time around to be able to do his job. This is the guy who his average 10 days of expenditures that he bills to us, it was more than it cost us to send the entire group that we sent to London recently to guard Buckingham Palace for 10 days. I think there were 28 people on that mission. It costs us more in 10 days to fund Pierre Poilièvre's activities as leader of the Conservative Party than it cost us to send 28 soldiers to Buckingham Palace for 10 days for a ceremonial guard. But it's the Carney and Liberal government that are fat and gargantuan and overbloated. Cue the music from Curb the Enthusiasm. No answer. Nothing to offer. Vapid. Vapid. And then here's another one. A moment that took place yesterday. This one brought to us by our good friend Jason Hugh. And you will notice that Pierre seems to really miss Justin. Just take a little look.
To represent cottage country, almost as beautiful up there as it is in Battle River Crowfoot. But it is great to have a shadow minister of housing who actually has success as a former mayor getting housing built by cutting the taxes and the development charges and the wait times so that building can happen. What a contrast with Justin Trudeau, with Mark Carney. Mark Carney's housing minister, Gregor Robertson, the guy he gets.
Ooh. A lot of people have been framing that as being Pierre obsessed with Justin, or calling it sort of like that moment when you call teacher mom, or that moment when you call your wife by your ex-girlfriend's name. Yeah, I'm like, cue Whitney Houston in the back saying, "My name is not Justin, so watch what you say. And if you still need him, then be on your way. Don't want to hear about Justin." Oh my God, he can't quit him. He can't quit him. And this Jason, because he's amazing, and I think he might have a mind like mine, that little filing cabinet that puts these things down, brings us back to January 9th, 2025, when Pierre said this when he was still campaigning as he is now. And I guess we can file this one under promise made, promise kept from him. But let's look at this little gem. 36 seconds. Remember this moment?
And so, right before an election, the Liberal MPs want to elect another Justin Trudeau who has a different face. They're all Justin Trudeau. They're all just like Justin. In the next election, I will be running against Justin Trudeau. Whether his name is Justin Trudeau, or his name is Chrystia Freeland, or Carbon Tax Carney, or Carbon Tax Clark, they will all be Justin Trudeau.
Well, promise made, promise kept, because you're looks like you're going to go into the next election also running against Justin Trudeau, because you can't quit him. Oh my God, this guy is absolutely terrible. Terrible. Oh my God. When we're talking about what he expenses to the taxpayers every day, by the way, it's $18,600 every single damn day. Adam Van Koeverden did the math. He also said, "My guess is that after 2 decades as an MP, he knows an eligible expense when he sees it." Ooh, ouch. Kitty got claws. Now, in that last clip you saw, he was mentioning where he was is almost just as beautiful as Battle River Crowfoot, which is kind of interesting because everybody's wondering how he could say that because he hasn't been there long enough. And, Bonnie Critchley, still out there doing her thing, uh, decided that she would call him out on it. She posted this. "Sometimes I really hate being right, because it means my neighbors and I continue to suffer by being thrown under the bus by an Ottawa-centric politician. Not only has our new MP proven he doesn't give a rat's ass about us by disappearing as soon as he could, but he's now actively campaigning against our best interests. It's harvest season and Chinese canola tariffs have disappeared from the national conversation. In their place is our new MP doubling down on restrictions on Chinese EVs, which are what caused the Chinese to put reciprocal tariffs on our canola in the first place. There's no mention of working towards an equitable solution, just fear-mongering. It's harvest season, and our new MP is going after the temporary foreign worker program that the last Conservative government abused and expanded all out of proportion. At its core, the temporary foreign worker program is needed to help our agriculture across the country. There's no mention of bringing the program back to its original parameters and uses, just fear-mongering. Sometimes I really do hate being right, but I'm not done yet. This is our home, our riding in Battle River Crowfoot, and our country." How could Pierre know that that little place that he was in when he was making that announcement and telling the world that he misses Justin so much is almost just as pretty as Battle River Crowfoot, given that he hardly spent any time there. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, yeah, indeed. Some polling news that you might want to be aware of. Net approval numbers for Pierre Poilièvre versus Mark Carney here would have recently been issued because some might think that there might be a boost for Pierre, given that he's been reelected and is about to re-enter the House. And while the party has gotten a boost in certain polls, the question is whether or not Pierre has gotten a boost in certain polls. So since we're there, let's take a look here. These are numbers for Mark Carney, according to Abacus, September 2nd. Now, the Conservatives have been really high on Abacus polling because the poll that they released prior to September 2nd showed that the Conservatives had taken the lead. And even though that was the only poll out of all the pollsters showing at the time that the Conservatives were taking the lead, well, all the little minions like that Pierre called on his phone while he was supposed to be said he was doing some post-election moratorium, which hasn't not moratorium, sorry, doing a post-election, I've forgotten the word for that thing, which evaluation of what post-mortem, there's the word I was looking for, a post-election post-mortem about what the party did wrong or what it could have done better. And he contacted these influencers and thanked them for the work that they did. So they took that Abacus poll of 2 weeks ago and were promoting it and saying, "Hey, we're back, we're back, we're back." Well, Abacus came up with with another poll, of course, on September 2nd. And here, Mark Carney's net approvals are at plus 14. He's positive everywhere in the country except for Alberta, where he's only a -5. Plus 16 with women, plus 11 with men, plus 21 with 18 to 29-year-olds, right? Which is and plus 12 with 30 to 44-year-olds, because Pierre's making a bid for younger Canadian vote here, and it's a distinct strategy. Now, if we look at the numbers from the same polling company for Pierre, we are going to see a slightly different picture over here. And for Pierre, those numbers, overall net approval, -3, negative. Negative all around the country, except for Alberta, where he's +22, and Saskatchewan and Manitoba, where he's only +9, which seems to me to be relatively low when compared to Alberta or Western Canada. So getting the feeling that it must really suck for the Conservative Party of Canada that Mark Carney is proving himself to be a better conservative than anyone in their actual party, at least in the estimation of voters. +9 with men, so Mark Carney is doing better with men, -14 with women. Mark Carney is doing way better. But the 18 to 29-year-olds that he was still courting, only +2. The 30 to 44, only +3. 45 to 59, only +3. And the seniors, which used to be the bread and butter of the Conservative Party, under 15, -15. So although the party may be more popular, according to Abacus, with only a 3-point spread between them than is indicated in other polls, Pierre himself is not particularly popular, which is really interesting here. And the Abacus polls, the most recent one that came out, shows once again the Liberals with a 3-point lead. So it was a 1-week blip soon after his by-election win, and then Abacus reverted back to where it was before that by-election. So you got a 1-week bump, and then it's back. And then all those minions that were promoting that Abacus poll no longer are doing it. Abacus just fell off the face of the earth to these people, but now they are happy with an Angus Reid poll that has come out instead to replace the Abacus one, showing that the Conservatives are in the lead by 2. So here, Kits and Cubs, I will show you this data as well so that you can take a look at it for yourself, how things have been going for the party with regard to polling. But if you look here, this is 338.com. I'm going to take away this ad here. So here we go. We have Nanos Research. This is in August 8th, showing +13, then +12, and then Abacus Data's first poll came in showing the Conservatives with a +2. That's on August 17th. All the other pollsters, Nanos again showing +10, +11, Liaison showing +9, Main Street +2, a little closer here. Abacus Data, whoops, there's the poll. CPC +2, oh, now LPC +3. So in 14 days, there was a 5-point swing back the other way. There you go. That was the extent of the honeymoon. Angus Reid, though, came up with one on September 2nd, showing the Conservatives with a 2-point lead, but Nanos just had one come out, showing still what they've been seeing all along, still maintains Liberals with a 10-point lead over them. So things are not going well for Pierre on that front. And even though the Angus Reid data is showing that the Conservatives as a party are in the lead, the rest of the data is not great for them here. According to a new Angus Reid study by the Angus Reid Institute, a large majority of young Canadians have a negative opinion of Pierre Poilièvre. So this is not only showing up in Abacus, but it's showing up in Angus Reid as well. 65% of Canadians aged 12 to 24 say that they have a negative opinion of the Conservative Party leader. 62% of Canadians aged 25 to 34 say the same. Majorities of Canadians aged 35 to 54 say that they have a negative opinion of him at a rate of 55%, and the 55 plus, it's 57% of them that hold a negative impression of Poilièvre. Young men are just as likely as young women to view Poilièvre unfavorably. So young men, 63%, young men, 62%. Again, from Angus Reid, suspected by many to lean conservative. net favorability of Prime Minister Mark Carney is now 32 points higher than that of Pierre Poilièvre. So while the party is a little more popular, well, it's more popular than the Liberals, according to Angus Reid in this poll, Pierre is not. Now, in this poll, there is some interesting data to show you. Now, again, Angus Reid, and we tell you not to rely on just one pollster, but the aggregate. But in this one, we want to, when there are things, we want to look to see what they are saying, and then not to say that this is the reality, but to see if this replicates itself in other polls from polling companies. So that way, if we know if it's an outlier, whether or not, it is at the beginning of a trend. But this one is showing that the views of Prime Minister Mark Carney are starting to change a little bit. He had maximum positive at 57%, 56 in June, 56% in August, late August, and now it's at 51%. As we start in early September, we see his negatives going from 29% to 41%. So here, while at the 3rd of June, the split between his negatives and positives where it was a 28-point spread, now it's only a 10% spread. It's narrowing. So that's the thing that's there. Sorry, I'm going to take this up so you don't have to watch me scroll when I'm doing this. And then another piece of data that was really interesting here is that though the views of Prime Minister Mark Carney are changing, and they are lowering slightly for every group. This is a piece of data that I found interesting again, because Pierre and the Conservatives really try to be making a play for young men. According to Angus Reid here, where you can see they have for males and females various age groups here, and you can see the darker number is from June 25th, and the lighter number is lighter bar is from September 25th, and you can see total from 57 to 51%. And then with men 35 to 54, he's dropped 45 to 40% in terms of strongly approve, and 55 plus 58 to 55. With women, there's a decline through all age groups. But with men 18 to 34, Mark Carney has increased from 48% to 52% in terms of getting strong approval, which is a very interesting metric in this particular poll, one that you'd want to keep your eyes on to see whether or not his push to try to secure the votes of young Canadian men with the type of rhetoric that he has is working. But here's the other interesting one. While support for Mark Carney is starting to shift as Canadians are starting to get to know him, according to this poll, support for Pierre Poilièvre specifically is maintaining the same pace as always. So the favorability leader of CPC leader Pierre Poilièvre over time, he had his best result was in September 2023 with a net unfavorability, with a favorability of 49% and a net unfavorability of -11 between that. And as you can see, it's been widening and widening. And when we get to September 25th, he's now at peak unfavorability since September 2022 with Angus Reid at 58%. He's at not record low favorability, but close to at 36%. And his net favorability is -22 here. The more we get to know him, the less we like him, is what this is showing us. And Pierre wants to be around for another, he would like it to be shorter than 4 years so he can go quickly, but another 4 years. And the Conservatives need to decide in January, whether or not, let's say this trend continues and we get to January, whether or not they would like to have Pierre remain as leader, as his favorabilities and his net favorability keeps decreasing, and his net favorability numbers keep decreasing. And do you really want to ride that horse into another election? A person that people loathe more, are more turned off by, the more they hear him, see him, and are exposed to him? It's a question that they're going to have to ask themselves. So yeah, there you go, kids and cubs. I think that's pretty much, well, it's not pretty much. I have a whole lot more in here. But kids and cubs, sort of like a grab bag, little overview of things that are going on throughout the country here today. All right, kids and cubs, that's the end of this episode of the Daily Beaver Morning Show. We hope that you love listening to us because we love making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. We really love it when you do. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like us to help you, we can do that because sometimes you are busy and you are on the go and you don't have time to watch the show with the DAMFAM, either live or at your own convenience. Sometimes the day is just too jam-packed, but you still want to remain informed. Well, thanks to the Ray Girl, you can do that, kids and cubs. All you need to do is go to our pod page. And if you're watching right now, you can scan that QR code and we'll bring you right there. Podpage.com/The True North Eager Beaver with the hyphen between each one of those words. Ray Girl sponsors it so that it's there for you. And when you go there and click subscribe, we have a fresh audio podcast right off the bandwidth for you. It comes directly to your podcast feed. And there you go. You don't even have to look for us. We come directly to you and we wait there quietly and patiently until you decide to click on us so that we can bring you the information and analysis that you so desire. So lightweight, aerodynamic, and very portable. Just put us in your ears and go. That way you get to be an effective member of society and remain informed at the same time. Multitasking. It's a wonderful thing. Now, kids and cubs, if you would like to help us, you can do that by making your way to, I think I can leave that up there. Make your way to the True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated YouTube page, and that QR code that has just appeared would bring you there. Kit, Cassie, and Kiss Elaine would be delighted that if you would go there and play with our buttons. Like, share, and subscribe. Let's get those subscriber numbers keep going up. 22,300 when we started the show. Let's see where this baby can go, man. So thank you so much for playing with our buttons. It makes us really happy when you do, when we see our numbers go up. But the most important thing is that it helps us with the algorithm. So thanks so much. We really appreciate your help. Now, if you would like to help us in other ways, you can do that because we do incur some costs to bring this show to you. And when we are entirely self-financing, we put our own money into it, and then whatever it is that you donate to us as tips and whatever we get from YouTube, hopefully this year we break even. It would be really nice if we could. The fact that we don't have to buy new computers this year might help with that. But your generous contributions are what keeps this show going. We definitely would not be in season 5 if we did not get a little help along the way from the members of the Best DAMFAM and all the podcasting. So we're very grateful, and we would like to keep doing this, but we do need your support. So an enthusiastic expression of encouragement in the form of a tip donated to the Eager Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund, which contributes to fighting the scourge that is dry beaver, because a happy beaver is a moist beaver, or a moist beaver is a happy beaver. Either way. So if you would like to do your bit to keep your favorite beaver moist, then a little jingling of toonies and loonies at the bottom of our chip jar would make us very, very happy, would make our day, would delight us. So please buy your favorite beaver a cup of hot chocolate and say, add a beaver, or your favorite grizzly, a cup of dark and bitter coffee, and say, good job, Mr. Grizzly. And we would be very, very grateful to accept your donation. Again, coffee-.com/eagerbeaver, all in one word. But if you're doing the Buy Canadian thing, then truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is the address to which you would send the transfer. And we would really appreciate you doing that, because if you do it that way, you don't contribute to funding the USC Tech Bros, who take a cut of that money and offer it to tribute to Donald Trump, who then uses it to do terrible things to us. but it also makes it such that your transaction is 100% Canadian, and we get 100% of your donation, so your donation goes farther. And we thank you for your support. Always generous, always kind, always welcome. If it weren't for you, we still wouldn't be here. So thank you so much, kids and cubs. We are very, very grateful for all that you do. Now, kids and cubs, as we always say on the show, if you are not able to contribute financially, that is okay, because the gifts of your attention and participation are the ones that matter most to us, because if nobody's listening, then what's the point of making a show, right? So we thank you for that. And truenortheagerbeaver@gmail.com is the same address you can use to write to us, because we want to hear from you. We want to know what you think about the show, good, bad, or ugly. We are definitely open to constructive feedback, constructive criticism, so long as it's politely and kindly delivered. So please do let us know. If you have suggestions for guests, we definitely want to hear them. A lot of you have given us some lately, and we have followed up. And like I said, hopefully we will have some interesting guests, some of them that you've asked for, appearing on the show recently. And we reached out to a couple of people. We're reaching out a little wider. Normally we reach out to Canadians, but we have been reaching out to a few Americans lately who have specific knowledge in specific fields of interest to us. And also just to get a little bit of sense of what's going on the ground over there. I have this idea in my head of maybe a 4 or 5 episode special where we're talking to Americans, not Rick Mercer style, not trying to steal his stick, but talking to Americans about what it is that they know. And also looking, fingers crossed, at getting a very good journalist, I believe journalist, named Olga Nestorova, to talk to us a little bit more about things going on internationally. So fingers crossed that we will hear back from her. Seem to indicate an openness to coming on our show, but sometimes between indicating the openness and actually getting on the show, there are some difficulties that can sometimes happen. It doesn't always materialize. So hopefully we will be able to have her because she does such amazing work when it comes to covering international issues. So working on getting some guests for you, and like I said, maybe having a maybe 4 or 5 part special. Not sure if I will use them as morning shows to replace, or just have it being its own separate True North Eager Beaver initiative. But we are working on that, and part of that is due to some suggestions that you kids and cubs have made to us. And we realized, oh, wait a minute, we have a certain number of them. Maybe we can make this into some type of a special. For a sort of special initiative, special type of programming. So we are working on that behind the scenes, and hopefully we'll have more to bring to you on that. But thank you for your suggestions. It really does help. Remember, this is your show too, right? Not just ours. So, and we want to give you some of the things that you ask for, because we want to meet your needs. We want to know what it is you want to know, and if we can find a way to bring that to you, we will. Because if we can help, we will. That's sort of our attitude here. If you can help, help. Let's see, what else do we have for you? So that was our addresses and all that kind of stuff. We're at the democracy, something that you do point, I guess, kids and cubs. Newfoundland and Labrador, provincial election coming. The writs haven't been drawn yet, but it's coming. The Yukon Territory, territorial, I should say, election coming there. So do get to know your potential candidates. Call your electoral bodies to see if you can volunteer. If there are candidates already nominated and declared that you support, never too early to start some phone banking or door knocking or helping however you can. So please get involved. And of course, if you are in Alberta, forever Canadian.ca is the website that you can go to find out where the pop-up signature stations will be today and over the next coming days. If you're mobility impaired, to give a call to see if there might be a team who can come to you to register as a canvasser yourself, particularly if you live in an apartment building, because that could be a lot of signatures in a short amount of distance that can help. Remember, they need about 294,000 signatures, so that's a lot. Some donations to the organization, because that whole crew is doing a lot of good work, but it does cost some money to do that work. So a donation can help. Or if you want to pledge to sign the petition, because there hasn't been a pop-up where you are yet, and you want one to pop up, for lack of a better word. So all of these pursuits are good. Forever-Canadian.ca is where you can do that. And of course, Kids and Cubs, there is the appeal from the Red Cross to help our brothers and sisters in Newfoundland and Labrador who have been very severely affected by wildfires lately. The federal government will be matching all of your donations $2 to 1 until September 14th. So if you would like to contribute, please call 1-800-418-1111. Go to wecare@redcross.ca as your email address, or www.redcross.ca for the website, and there will be a Newfoundland and Labrador appeal. Sorry, here I have written down till September 17th and not 14th, so I'm not sure if that's a typo on my part. So let's just assume it's the 14th for now, because we certainly don't want to make a mistake on that if you want to maximize your donation. And I will double check that in the Government of Canada news release to be sure that it is the 14th or the 17th, because the 17th would add a couple of extra days for us to be able to help. And of course, well, all those extra days would indeed matter significantly. But yes, the dollars, they will be matched 2 to 1 until that time. So please do, if you're able to help, please do. The need is particularly impressive. All right, Kids and Cubs, what else do we have for you here? Well, we're at the words of wisdom time. Kids and Cubs, I'm just going to use what I've been saying here. If you can help, do. Those are my words of wisdom. Pretty simple today. Kids, it could be a tough world out there, so please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And now, Kids and Cubs, if I may ask you, would you please, at the count of 3, all together, say, Mr. Beaver, please cue the cock. On 1, 2, 3. Ah, you lovely, lovely, lovely souls. Since you've asked so nicely, I must serve.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters, CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community, and the Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music.
All right, Kids and Cubs, before we go, I did want to bring you a little something, because this is also another because democracy is something you do moment. Again, if you are living in Alberta. And this is, I saw this from John Roggeveen, I'm going to guess is the pronunciation, who is the leader of the Alberta Liberal Party, who had retweeted this from Mr. Zachary Weeks, who is a disability advocate and accessibility consultant who was born with cerebral palsy. And there are some things going on with regards to the disability community in Alberta. It seems that the AISH program, AISH, which I wish I could remember what it stands for off the top of my head. I'm going to go take a look and see if I can get it here. The Assured Income for the Severely Handicapped program is being revised or revamped, and is now going to be called ADAP, the Alberta Disability Assistance Program. But with Danielle Smith, she gives with one hand and takes from the other, and there's some things going on, some activities going on that have a deadline that is nearing and approaching. So I am just going to allow Mr. Zachary Weeks to just tell it to you rather than I can, because it would be much more convincing and serious coming from him than it is
H is being replaced. H is being replaced and means less support, stricter rules, and more cuts. Here's what we know about ADAP so far. On July 1st, 2026, all ACE recipients will be forced onto ADAP. So what does that mean? It means $200 less a month, tougher eligibility support based on if you can work, fewer appeal rights, and lower income exemptions. Bottom line, less income, more barriers. Inclusion Alberta says this will push thousands into poverty. The work expectations are unrealistic. The appeal process is basically gone, and people are going to lose support even if they can't find employment. But the good news is that we can push back. We can do so by attending the telephone town halls coming up this week, as well as the Premier's Council on the Status of Persons with Disabilities Zoom meeting on September 8th. Oh, and my personal favorite, don't forget to fill out the survey, because we love surveys. This isn't just about money. This is about dignity and inclusion. Share this video, and let's make sure that Albertans with disabilities aren't left behind.
So, of course, participating in the town hall on September 8th is not possible at the current moment because, well, we are September 10th. However, there are other things that can be done over the, I believe that there's a September 12th deadline, if I'm not mistaken, for the survey. But here, according to him as well, he writes, the Alberta government is proposing significant changes to disability income support, ones that could have devastating consequences for thousands of people across the province. At the heart of the proposal is the replacement of the current Assured Income for Severely Handicapped program with a new framework, the Alberta Disability Assistance Program. This post outlines everything we know so far, thanks in large part to advocacy and resources from Inclusion Alberta. It includes key dates and action steps, government documents, and expert analysis so that you can make your voice heard. Is this one it? There we go. Sorry about that, kids and cubs. Don't know where I went to. Um, wow, that was very weird. Very, 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 very weird. Hopefully, you can still hear me. The fact that the camera went out didn't change anything. But yes, here is, I'll put it here in the chat for you so that you can go check that document for yourselves. Very important that you do if you are a member of the disability community in the province of Alberta, because you do not want to miss any of these deadlines. If there are some that are still there for you. But yes, the ADAP public survey deadline is September 12th, so there are 2 more days. It's your opportunity to give feedback on the proposed changes directly to the Alberta government. So please do that. And here, there's also a link address for the survey itself. So I'm going to put this in the chat as well. There you go. Hopefully it's not too big. No, it does go up. Fine. So yeah, it's that youralberta.ca/ADAP/surveys probably is where you will find it. But do go there and fill that out. Very, very, very important that you make your voices heard, because of that which the government of Alberta is attempting to do to the disability community there is completely and totally unconscionable. And we will be reaching out to some people who are able to bring us more information about that. And hopefully we'll be able to have them as guests on the show as well. Okay, kids and cubs, that's all I have got for you at the moment. So I am going to say amour et bisous, and we will see you tomorrow. And just like that, like magic, I'm gone.